reballing and installing it on another board that doesn't want to properly charge. It would jump from 1% all the way up to 28, and that's where it would stay. So you're going to be seeing the process throughout on how to do this. So we currently have my temperature set at 365 and 60 air. It's on a JBC machine. So we're going to see about getting this chip off without damaging anything. So the biggest thing you want to look at on this chip is its underfill. So you're going to want to go somewhere where you're not going to knock off components or anything. It's kind of rough in this area, so we will come in right here. And the idea is that diode in the back has a large thermal mass, so we're going to heat the chip and kind of pry against the diode with a lifting up motion, and we'll see if that'll do it. So depending on the chips that we remove, I do use a different airflow and different temperature, because if you have it too hot and too high, you can overheat the board and float components due to the underfill. And as you can see right above my hook, there's a small solder ball popping out, which will indicate that heat's been applied, which this is a used board, so it wouldn't surprise me. But this is a donor board, so I don't really care about damaging anything else. We just need this chip. So make sure you're doing a circular motion, because you don't want to apply too much heat on one spot. And this being a large IC, it's going to take a lot of heat to get off. So it's going to take a minute getting this off. And you can see the flux starting to boil around and solder balls popping out. We'll get that out of the way. Get that out of the way. But like I said, this being a donor board, I don't really care about the other components. We just need this chip. There it goes. So it doesn't look like there's any pulled pads on this, but you could tell where I was kind of scraping, which there's no copper on really on that. We could do some solder mask on that, but the important thing is, staying away from these pads. We didn't pull any pads. And the chip looks like it's in pretty good condition. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get this board out of the way. We need to clean the chip so we can reuse it. I do apologize about the sound. That is actually my machine to suck up the fumes and stuff, which I'm currently using a Hucko. Don't know the model or anything on that. I have to look. So, one thing I do is if you put a piece of tape down with the sticky side up, with it taped down, it makes working on chips a lot easier. So we'll get that line back up. Alright, so if you're looking at this chip, you can tell that there's underfill on it. So the idea is to apply low melt solder and flux to this chip to, reduce the heating temperature. Once that is done, we'll wick, and then we will use a 60 airflow with a 225 heat to remove underfill. So I'm going to be using my Weller station for the solder station because it's a larger tip. So we'll let that heat up real quick. So we'll go ahead and get some flux on here. That's a lot of flux, but I don't really care. So we're almost there. I do have my solder station set at a 450 Celsius. With it being this high, you have to be careful because if you apply too much heat in one spot, you can pull pads. And when you're doing this, you really do need to make sure you get some kind of machine to get rid of the fumes, because you got to keep in mind it is solder and it's really bad for your health. So if you're looking at this, some of the pads don't actually look to be catching solder, and the reason for that is that could be the underfill that's currently on it, a very thin layer. So when you're using the wick, that would actually get rid of that. Yeah, see, all that underfill is starting to come off. That's the greatest thing about using this wick. When you're wicking, don't apply too much pressure because you can rip pads. And this whole process is going to be within a couple videos. We're not going to do it all in one video because on this reball we're going to have to do this by hand because there's not a stencil out for it. So we're going to snip off this part that we used on the solder wick. Alright, we're going to do a Q-tip with some alcohol, which the preferred alcohol content to use is 99%, which you can find on Amazon. We buy cases at a time. So we're going to check these contacts here. Okay, look. So I thought it was pulled, but it's not. But see, as you can see, me scratching at it is applying, or not applying, but removing the slight mask on it. So what we'll go ahead and do is we're going to reduce our temperature to 225, 60 air. Go ahead and apply it to this chip so we can gently scratch off this underfill. We will be making another video of doing the reball because, like I said, you have to hand reball this by hand. So I'm thinking on the other iPad we might remove a couple of the larger components to be able to get under that PMIC. That way we don't damage anything or apply too much pressure. Yeah, so we're just using a hook, which you can find on Union Repair or just about any place. You could even buy it on Mobile Centrics. Alright, so as you can see, it comes off fairly easy. Okay, so all the underfill's off. What we're going to do, just so we can get these contacts showing pretty well, we're going to apply more solder, gently scratching against the contacts that have this oxidation on it. Okay, so this tape's starting to get where it won't stick, so what we're going to do is go ahead and remove it and get some more put on it. And we're just cleaning the chip right now, so. This tape's really cheap, so it's not really a big deal about wasting it. So. Alright, so let's go ahead and get all these pads showing really good. Alright. So, alright, let's go ahead and get solder applied to it. So, like I said, don't touch the pads, but what I do is when it's something like this, you just kind of gently scrape with your iron on it. It's pretty risky, so you gotta be really careful. Well, let's go ahead and get some more flux on it. Another important tip is when you're out searching for flux, you're going to want to buy somewhere that's not going to rip you off and give you imitation. Typically, the imitation is going to get like a brown crusty on it. It really doesn't melt properly either. Alright, so it doesn't look like the pads are wanting to come clean, which what we'll do is we'll take some solder wick to it. Let me grab my tweezers real quick. Just want to move. The flux that we applied is actually making it move, giving it moisture under. Another trick of doing this is taking a X-Acto knife and just gently scraping against the pad to expose more of the contact, but I'm a little too lazy, so I'm just going to use this solder wick. Alright, let's get this cleaned up. Take an X-Acto knife, that way we're not wasting time. And I don't really want to overheat this chip. Yeah, so if you're looking at this, I actually did get a lot of the contacts exposed. And go ahead and get this all cleaned up real quick. Alright, so you're looking at this, these right here, as you can see, they're not pulled, they're just oxidized, which with the underfill you're going to get that a lot. So what we're going to want to do is kind of gently scrape at it, but be careful. Like you can see what I just did is this copper right here, you're going to want to slightly solder mask that. Say hi, Buggy. Say hi. Say hi. Apparently my youngest is a little stubborn. I know you want food. You gotta give me a minute. Oh, these kids are never full, I swear. Alright, so we're gonna want to go through and expose all of this. Alright, sorry about that. I had to go grab something. Alright, so I'm just going to gently scrape against this. When you're doing this kind of work, make sure you don't rush it either, because you can definitely pull some pads, and once you do that, your chip's gone and you're going to have to order, and it's going to take a while to get in. Alright, so as you can see, we didn't pull any pads at all. They are currently all present. So with them being exposed, we're going to clean it a little bit, apply flux, and then we are going to take solder over it. To make sure that everything's gonna stick, because the last thing you want to do is start reballing and nothing will stick to it, and you're gonna be kind of stuck for a minute. Okay, it looks like there's still one more up at that top, so I'm gonna get that clean real quick. Alright, let's go ahead and take some solder over that real quick. You do want to have flux, because the amount of flux that's currently in the solder isn't going to be enough. Alright, so clean the tip. Now this time you're going to just want to hover over the contacts. Because as you can see, I'm not actually touching the contacts. And you're going to want to go over until you see like a pillow of solder on each contact. This will indicate that it's ready to accept solder when you reball it. Go ahead and get some more solder. And if you find repairs that you would like to see get done, that you're not finding other places, make sure you let me know. We are going to go get into like Android devices on doing like PMIC and general repairs. Even includes computers, things like that. Yeah, we got a little bit of underfill still coming off. Yeah. See, if you don't have flux, that's what it'll do, is it'll make big clumps everywhere. Alright, so I think this is good enough. What we're going to do is go ahead and take a wick to it and get it nice and clean. Unfortunately, we're going to have to hand reball this, so it's going to take some time. Let's go ahead and apply some flux real quick. Make this a little easier. You want to be careful about how much pressure you apply, because you can definitely rip out these pads with this braid. Alright, let's go ahead and get that cleaned up. So what I normally do is I'll use a bunch of alcohol on my Q-tip to clean it. If you want a final clean and really get it clean with no residue, just use fingernail acetone. You can buy that in any local store or pharmacy, pretty much any place around. Before I used to use pure acetone like what you'd use on a car, but it's about $40 a can. Normally that's at Walmart, but you can go and buy normal acetone for a couple dollars at any place around. And as you can see, there's no pulled pads. there's kind of a slight discoloration. And this pad right here that's pulled is just an NC, so, well, actually, that's not pulled either. See? Alright, so appreciate you guys watching my videos. Like I said, if there's any more that you would like to have that you don't see around, make sure you let me know, because we can definitely get some more posted to help you out. We will be offering online training on our website, which is blairstech.com, so you can keep an eye open for that. Thank you. Have a great day.